Good evening. Our hand today is Ace 8 of diamonds on the button. So in this hand, I raise first in. I have a pretty standard raising range, just like that. Pretty, fairly wide, 32. I would typically open up. This player does fold to steal 61% of the time. He folds to steal 100% of the time. So, I think I could have quite a bit more in this range. But then villain three bets me, and it's on me. So at that point, I think any of the extra hands, I just go ahead and fold. So I'm going to keep this range, and I have to think about what kind of hands am I going to be calling here. What kind of hands am I going to be folding? Well, let's start with three betting. So if I was going to three bet, I think a standard three bet is going to be all the way down to tens with ace four, ace five suited. I think that's going to be a standard 4-bet range. But this player folds to steal 61% of the time. He doesn't seem like he attempts to steal a whole lot at 25%, and his three bet steal is 5%. So it's not like, I don't think he's really doing this with a very wide range. So I think what I'm doing here is I'm gonna think that he's playing pretty straightforward, and he's looking at like kings plus ace king, maybe queens. So we kind of have to start with something. Or I'm sorry, he's probably raising with like queens plus, ace queens plus, maybe jacks plus. So he's going to be a fairly strong range, and I think for that, then I'm going to have to four bet. I think with the four bet, I'm going to probably get called by like queens and jacks. I think ace queen probably folds, ace king probably folds. So I think by having ace king kings plus my four betting range, I'm gonna basically get called by queens and jacks. And if he calls with ace queen, hey, that's great, that's really good. That's gonna be my four betting range. And then what about my calling range? Well, my calling range just shrinks big time. I am in position, so I'm gonna call with ace jack off, ace queen off, king queen off, and then I am going to just go ahead. I think sixes. I tend to call with suited connectors because, again, I do have position. All my suited kings just go by the wayside. I'm going to be calling with ace 7 plus. I'm sorry, ace 8 suited plus, and then my suited Broadway. So that's going to be a pretty decent calling range. And you can see I have a second one, so I'm going to go with this range is what villain's probably three betting with. But he could be a little bit wider, so if he's going wider, it could be something like this. We're going to look at the tighter range first, and then see what happens when he raises with the narrower range. So I called. Flop comes out 10-3-2. He was the aggressor. He c-bets about 38%, and now it's on me. Do I call? Do I fold? So in this hand, I ended up folding, and when it played out, I thought, well, I've got backdoor straight, or I've had backdoor flush draw. I wonder if I should be calling this because he has like ace jack, ace queen, ace king that I do think he's going to probably be betting. I block some of those because I have an ace in my hand, but he could conceivably do that. And if he's especially wide with, let's say, king queen as well, I might be okay to call here and see what he does on the turn, possibly take it away on the turn, because it starts to look like maybe I have a pocket pair, or maybe I connected with a 10. So let's check out GTO and see what it says. So I've got everything in here. Let's check it out. So it does have villain betting out of position 99% of the time. And I think it's self-explanatory. He has strong hands. He's betting all of those hands, jacks, queens, kings, for value, which means he's going to need the offsuit hands to kind of balance it, or not the offsuit, the unpaired hands to balance it. And then it's on me. And you can see that I'm basically never raising here, but I should be calling 58%, folding 41.2%. So right now I can see it's good. I folded the ace-8, good decision. I'm glad I did that. And again, I felt like if I had some other draw to go with that backdoor flush draw, that would be okay. It's like, even with the straight, I don't really have a backdoor straight draw. I mean, I've got the 8. I've got the 8 of diamonds. There's no, or I have an ace. I could pick up a 4 and a 5, but I'm at the low end of the straight. But if I had, let's say this was 10-7-2, I think we can make a better case for calling at that point because I have a backdoor straight draw and a backdoor flush draw. But against this player, it looks like we are going to be folding ace 8, ace 9. Does say that we're calling with these overcards. So with the backdoor flush draws, we're calling when we have 2 overs. Ace jack's an exception, so we're calling with ace queen. Probably because with the ace queen we block aces and we block queens. Whereas with ace jacks, yeah, we block the jacks, but that he could have queens and kings in his hand. Those are the ones that we're not blocking. So like 2 combos, or if he's got kings or queens, it's 12 combos that would beat us if we hit our jack. Whereas if we hit a queen when we have ace queen, we're looking at, and same thing like king queen, we're looking at only 6 combos that are currently that would beat us if we turn that pair, and those combos would be the over pairs to us. We add one more for the trips if they happen to have that. The offsuit hands we fold. So really, it's that overcards with the backdoor straight is what, or backdoor flush draw is what we're valuing. Even the overcard jacks and queens we're calling. I guess I'm not surprised. We're gonna play it safe because he could have kings and queens. Why get it all in right now when we could be beat? But we're gonna call their trips. We're gonna call, balance out, protect us in 9s, 8s, 7, 6 because there's possibility that he has these unpaired hands. So let's say he calls. Let's put us up with let's say a king of diamonds. Let's say he leads. What do we do at this point? If he leads, we are raising 11% of the time. We're raising with 2 pair. We're raising with trip 10s. We're raising a little bit with king jack. But for the most part, we're going to be folding. We're folding all of these under pairs. That's a card that helps our opponent's range. Doesn't really help ours. We're going to be calling with just a king. So king's queen, king jacks. What if he changed that? What if he checks this small percentage of the time? Looks like we're going to check behind, but we are going to be betting our kings. We'll use king queen, mix it up. So I think this is okay. I think we're going to probably stop talking about this hand right now because I think we're in a bad situation if his range is this tight. So now let's go back and fix it. Let's say he has a slightly wider range, something like this. Does that change our analysis? So we'll rebuild the tree. And then we will run solver, and all right, not too long. So, as expected, villain should be betting. And actually, I think I set it up that he was betting, betting here because that's what he did. Actually, take that back. Yeah, so he is going to check some of the time, but he's betting, which is, I think, a rational player would be betting. And then I'm supposed to call. Against that range, I'm supposed to call with a pretty wide range. Ace 8 now, so it looks like we're calling with our backdoor flush draws in this case. Still can fold quarter of the time when we have those hands, but we're calling ace 9. We're still calling with the overs, and this time some of the folds are going to be those folds that don't really have the backdoor straight or the backdoor flush draw. Ace jack, king queen offsuits we're predominantly folding. 8-7 offsuit, or ace 7 suited we're predominantly folding. So yeah, we're going to have a lot more calls against this wider range. Why is that? Well, it's because villain now has a lot more combinations that missed, and you could see it here. Those are basically the overcards. 64 combos. out of his total. So he has 97 combos, 64 of them, almost 2/3 of the time, he'll miss. So when he bets, and he's betting with most of them, we should be doing a lot of calling. So let's say we call here, and let's give it a do something low. That's pretty common. And then let's say villain checks. If he checks, now we're going to be taking initiative and betting. And I think this is probably what I would have been doing. Ace, even with ace queen, I would have bet. But so this is interesting. I think even with sevens and eights, I probably would have been betting, because he's demonstrated that he missed. He didn't like that I called. So now I'm trying to bet to push him off his hand. So I probably would have bet 100%, expecting him to fold everything. So I'm sure if we say he folds all of his unpaired hands, then our proper play is to bet pretty much everything. If he's playing GTO, then you could see he's calling with nines. He's going to be check raising with some jacks, queens, kings, and aces. He's calling somewhat with his ace, kings, and ace, queens. So that's kind of deviation from GTO. Do I think some of these players are playing GTO? Not really. He is playing tight, so that's kind of why I think if I bet here after he checks, I think we can he's going to be folding most. So that if he's going to be folding basically all his overs, we should just be betting. Take advantage of it, of the fact that he's going to be folding too many of his hands. What if it's a different? So I think that's pretty standard. So even with the queen, this has him betting even like ace king, which I do think he should be betting, because the queen really helps his perceived range. If he bets, then you can see that we are basically going to start folding. We're calling with kings. We're calling with our straight draws. I guess we are calling with tens to just kind of protect us, because villain could have like ace king, ace jack at that point. But I think I would probably be playing these hands like this. So I think we'll call it here. I'm happy with how I played it. We could debate whether it was an appropriate call on pre-flop. Yeah, I probably could have raised it, but just kind of looked at his hands. This player is fairly tight, so he folds it to pre-flop 3-bet after raise is 57%. So he is folding his weaker hands when he opens and faces a 3-bet. So I do think his 3-bet stat, 3-bet from the blind, is going to be pretty tight. And when we look at him, he's got 3-bet ranges: ace queen suited plus ace king offsuit. His called 2-bets from the blind range: king jack off, queen 10 off. So I would say king jack, king queen off, he calls. Queen jack suited, he calls, so he's not raising those. He's not raising sevens, not raising four. So I kind of think we are probably correct with the tighter range. And maybe I think this might be too tight. If it's too tight, definitely I think king queens are out. Maybe he's more likely to do king queen suited, but I think we're pretty good with this raise. So all right, hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, look tomorrow for another.